Robinson Report for today, January 17th, 2010. And before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to all the viewers out there. I want to give you a special thank you for sticking with us here, and I promise you, we're going to get better as time rolls on. On this edition of the Robinson Report, we're going to talk about air wars. And there are three air wars in particular I want to talk to you about today. The first one being the Arabs and Israelis in the 1967 Six-Day War. The second air war I want to talk to you about is the London Blitz of 1940 and World War II. Finally, the third air war I'm going to talk to you about today is in Operation Desert Storm in 1991, a war very close to my heart because I most proudly served this country in that war oh so long ago. We definitely appreciate your viewership here at the Robinson Report, and we love to get emails from you all. Please send that email to therobinsonreport@yahoo.com. Once again, therobinsonreport@yahoo.com. Well, buckle up, strap on tight, we're cleared for takeoff. You are watching the Robinson Report. Prime Minister Levi Eshkol was not a military man, so he left the planning of Operation Focus up to his advisors, Yitzhak Rabin, Chief of Staff, and Moshe Dayan, Minister of Defense. Egypt, led by Nasser, had its own plans for engaging with Israel. The key to the Israeli victory in this air war was the fact that Israeli bomber crews rearmed and refueled Israeli jets in less than 9 minutes, allowing for many sorties to be flown against enemy targets. Israeli Mirage fighters flew into battle against them. Egypt had more combat aircraft than the Israelis. Egypt had 500 compared to the Israelis' 200. However, the result was that most of the Egyptian Air Force would be destroyed on the ground. Airstrips were destroyed. Planes in formation on the ground were destroyed. Hangars were destroyed. And the few Egyptian planes that did get airborne had no chance against the Israeli Air Force. This made attacking the Egyptian army very easy for the Israeli Air Force and the Israeli army. They were easy targets for those planes and bombers as well as for those tanks. And this was the key to Israeli victory in the Six-Day War. But it would be short-lived, for they would fight again in 6 years.
Hey, my name is Jim, and you are watching the Robinson Report.
Hey, my name is Cammy, and you're watching the Robinson Report.
After the fall of France, England stood alone against Germany. Prime Minister Winston Churchill rallied his people. Hermann Göring and the German Luftwaffe were determined to bomb the British into surrender or submission. Royal Air Force crews scrambled to protect their home islands in their Spitfire airplanes. Nazi bombers bombed London day and night at first, but exclusively went to nighttime raids during the winter of 1940. The devastation upon London and England was intense. Homes were destroyed. Businesses were destroyed. The people of London had to seek refuge in their underground tunnels where their rapid transit runs. The devastation was pretty bad in England from the Blitz and the nighttime bombings of the Germans. And despite it all, the British will to continue on and stand firm against the Nazis would not fall. They, like their leader, despite the destruction, will fight the Nazis wherever they would meet. Radar was a very important way of the British protecting their home islands. It gave them foreknowledge of Luftwaffe waves of attack and allowed them to respond. The German Air Force was not prepared for a sustained air campaign, and it's why they lost the Battle of Britain.
My name's Chelsea, and you're watching the Robinson Report.
Hi, my name's Alan, and I'm watching the Robinson Report.
Just 2 hours ago, Allied air forces began an attack on military targets in Iraq and Kuwait. These attacks continue as I speak.
And those attacks were devastating upon Iraqi command and control centers. Saddam Hussein, the leader of Iraq, and his occupation of Kuwait caused this devastating air attack. And this air attack featured precision-guided bombs. But the most famous weapon of Desert Storm was the F-117 stealth fighter. Its advanced design made it invisible to radar and caused it to bomb targets that other planes simply could not reach. The Iraqi Air Force was a non-factor in this war, fleeing to Iran. But Scud missiles were a factor. The bombing of cities such as Tel Aviv and Dhahran and others gave the Iraqis some way to fight back against this devastating air attack led by the United States. Scud missiles rarely hit its targets, but were a very efficient terror weapon during Desert Storm. Patriot missiles were installed by the United States to protect against Scud missiles. Meanwhile, bombing operations against Iraqi army positions in southern Iraq and Kuwait continued, and they were devastating. F-15s, A-10 Warthog tank killers, and other naval aircraft such as this F-14 Tomcat were very instrumental in bombing Iraqi positions. Saddam in his retreat set oil fires to slow the Allied advance, but it was a fait accompli and an environmental disaster for him as Iraq surrendered in this air war of Desert Storm.